What's up guys, Steven here from Ginger on the Go, and I'm just back from France. I spent a few weeks there traveling around with my mom. We drank wine, we explored medieval cities, we hung out on some beaches, but more on all that later because today we are going to talk about the city where we started and ended our trip, which is of course Old Paris, Paris. Now this was my first time back in Paris since before the pandemic, so it was a lot of fun rediscovering one of my favorite cities in Europe. And today I want to tell you about some of the best things you can do in Paris post-pandemic. I will be going over the ultra touristy things like the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre, but I'll also be sharing some lesser known things to do that you might not know about, so stick around. And I apologize in advance because I suck at French, so all my pronunciations are going to be terrible. So let's get started. And we're going to kick off this list with not the touristy things to do, and that is with one of my favorite areas of Paris, Montmartre. I think I got that right. Sitting on a hill, this quiet, quaint neighborhood is known for its dome basilica and views of Paris. But the core of this neighborhood is really art. Famous artists like Picasso, Van Gogh, and Monet have all called this place home. And today, Montmartre still continues its love affair with art. The main square is packed with portrait artists, each one having a different technique and style. So there is a chance, a small chance, you could get your portrait painted by the next Van Gogh or Picasso. It's a small chance though. Besides epic views and art, this area is also known for having the famous I love you wall, which is just a blue tiled wall that says I love you in I think 1,000 different languages. And it's worth checking out if you're in the area. I wouldn't trek across the city to see it, but if you're in Montmartre already, go see it. There's also the Instagram famous restaurant of La Maison Rose, and the oldest and I think only vineyard left in Paris. Sadly, that was closed when we were there, and it's kind of small, but it looks pretty cool from the outside. So maybe you'll have better luck than me and my mom. Now to get to Montmartre, it's pretty easy. Just head to the Moulin Rouge and then go up and up and up until you reach the Dome Basilica. All right, next up, let's head to Notre Dame, which still isn't open after the fire in 2019. But if it's your first time in Paris, it is still worth looking at from afar. And it's right next to the most famous bookstore in the world, the Shakespeare & Co. This bookstore has actually had two iterations. Once before World War II, when authors like Hemingway and Fitzgerald would hang out there. And after the war, it was reopened in a different spot where it sits today by a different person, but it had the blessing of the original lady that opened it. And in this new spot, it's where writers like Henry Miller and Allen Ginsberg would hang out. As you walk through the store, you can see the cots in the different corners. These are where the so-called tumbleweeds would sleep, basically where promising writers would sleep. In exchange, they had to work a few hours in the bookshop and promise to read one book a day, which is a big promise, reading a book a day. Next up, we have the Latin Quarter, which is just a few streets away from the Shakespeare & Co. This is a beautiful area of the city, and it's filled with restaurants and bars, and it's a good place to grab some happy hour drinks, or check out the Botanical Gardens, or go see the National Museum of History. It's a great area to hang out and relax. Not a lot for sightseeing. You have the big statue of the Archangel Michael nearby, and the French Pantheon, which I bet you didn't know that they had one. This is a massive building just a few blocks away that houses the remains of some of France's most famous citizens like Voltaire and Victor Hugo. Personally, I've never been inside, but I hear it is great. Speaking of dead people, let's talk about cemeteries, which is the next thing you should do when traveling in Paris. And now you might not think cemeteries are worth visiting, but Paris has some of the most beautiful and scenic, if that's the right word, cemeteries in all of Europe. Now, the two most famous cemeteries to visit in Paris are Père Lachaise and Montmartre. I think I butchered that last one. I butchered them both, to be honest, but I tried. And you might be asking yourself, Stephen, what is so good about cemeteries? Well, the cemeteries in Paris are covered with ivy and unique gravestones, and they're all clumped together. It's different from any cemetery you've probably ever been in, and it definitely is worth visiting. And let's finish this video by talking about touristy things you have to do in Paris. Of course, number one is the Eiffel Tower, which looks more like a barricaded fortress these days. Now, there's a lot of options on how to approach the Eiffel Tower. You can take the stairs to the middle floor, which isn't really in the middle, for a cheaper rate, and then take the elevator to the top, or you can just take the elevator from the bottom to the top. Now, prices differ to what you choose, and I can't remember exactly offhand how much it was, but I think the elevator from the bottom to the top was around 30 euros. So budget that in if this is on your bucket list. Personally, my favorite way to view the Eiffel Tower is on a scenic boat ride. These are not too far from the Eiffel Tower, and they go through some of the canals of Paris. You can do it during sunset, bring some champagne, enjoy being on the water, and enjoy taking in Paris. Going to the Louvre to see the Mona Lisa is another famous thing that you should do in Paris. The Louvre is huge, so make sure you set aside a good chunk of time to see it all. And if you want to see Mona Lisa or just not wait in line for an hour or two, you have to get to the Louvre early. The lines at the Louvre get absolutely crazy during peak season. I've waited in those lines, and I would suggest you be a little smarter than me. And there we go, guys. Some of the coolest things to do in Paris in 2022 or 2023. I don't think these sites are going anywhere. And if this video helped you, remember to hit that like button, the bell button, the subscribe button, every button but the dislike button, unless you really dislike this video, and then hit that dislike button. But leave a comment and tell me what I can do to make it better. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Until then, travel with confidence.